technology trends throughout the life cycle of design, construction, and operation of facilities, presented by Maren Pastor. Every year, our attendees ask for a session about future trends in the industry. And so this year, we're really happy that we could have Maren talk to us. That's really his field of expertise. I think you're going to really enjoy hearing from him this morning. So Maren is a registered architect and innovation and technology expert. He started his professional career nearly 20 years ago as a technical production architect and project manager. Through his personal practice and project experience, he realized how disjointed and the design and construction industry is, and the vast amount of room for process improvement. As a result of his efforts to connect the AEC industry and improve his own projects, his career evolved towards technology and innovation. In his current role at Jacobs, Maren focuses on leveraging the extensive AECO industry experience to help global project teams discern project technology and innovation constraints and opportunities. Maren, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Stacy. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you fine.
Perfect, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to get started. Give me one moment here. Make sure I choose the correct screen. As you can imagine, I have more than one. And we'll get it going. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep, we can see your screen.
Perfect, perfect. And one last thing I'm going to do is undock the chat window. So if anybody does post any questions, hopefully I'll be able to see the questions right away. And if not, Monica or Stacy, always feel free to stop me and let me know there's some questions in there. But anyway, let's get started. You are going to hear from me for the next 2 hours, so hopefully you all are comfortable and have your coffees in the morning, and we're gonna hopefully be on a little journey for 2 hours. I've got about 75 slides. I try to move fairly quickly through the process, and I've got a lot to cover. So, like Stacy mentioned, again, I'm a licensed architect in the state of Missouri, but again, my current role is a global technology leader for vertical information modeling at Jacobs. And again, we really look into what are the right technologies to align with project delivery. How can we help everybody do more with the overall process of delivering facilities and making sure we're doing it in a safe fashion and in very efficient fashion. So the learning objectives that I share with you today is we want to make sure that you guys gain a better understanding of various technologies in the AEC industry. We want to learn about the impact of technology on traditional architectural design and how to avoid pitfalls while exploiting all the benefits of the process. We want to make sure that we understand how to discern which technologies to integrate into the projects to achieve the best outcomes. And we want to make sure that you can advise your clients about the bigger picture that involves digital transformation and the right deliverables at the right time. So the top technology trends that I'll be talking about today, and again, if you read the brochure prior, I rearranged it just slightly to help flow of the overall presentation. First of all, we talk about integrated delivery. We'll talk about roles, responsibilities, and coordination best practices. We're going to start talking about the different Ds of BIM, the 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D design, and we're going to talk about the benefits and what they're trying to solve, each and every one of them. We'll mention the level of development and kind of talk about which level of it is required and when. We'll touch on visualization, virtual augmented reality, extended reality, and I'll show you some samples there. We'll talk about reality capture, which is inclusion of 360 cameras, drones, laser scanning into the overall process of design and construction. And then finally, we'll conclude with digital transformation, digital twins. Again, I get asked a lot. Actually, just before this meeting, I had a client meeting talking about digital twins as well. So we'll bring that topic into the conversation, and hopefully I'll be able to answer some of your questions or at least clarify what it is that the opportunity, where the opportunities lie for digital transformation, digital twins. So to get started, again, we're going to start with the AEC project delivery. And this is kind of a basic chart that I've developed to really talk about what the process looks like today versus what our clients think about and where the opportunity lies. So every single project that we deliver, again, is a factor of time and money, right? And this blue dot is that handover, that project completion that we all strive towards, right? And the easiest way to get from A to B is a straight line. So the green arrow is the order of magnitude, that optimal workflow of how much work happens to deliver a project. And we all know that every single project goes through the different various stages between architectural engineering design, construction management, or some sort of construction, and then we turn it over to trade subcontractors, and ultimately we turn that over to to the owner, which is where the process of facility management operations starts. And again, like I said, the easiest way to get from A to B is a straight line, but we all know that that's not exactly how this happens. Every single time we go through a handover, whether between our own engineers or where we turn it over to construction management, subcontractors, every single time we kind of have the drop in data, drop in intelligence. There's a certain amount of rework that we need to do to catch up to where the optimal, perfect workflow that doesn't exist and that will never exist. So the red arrows are actual representation of the actual amount of work that happens on a project to actually get the project completed. And the orange areas, the little triangle areas down below, visually are those areas where duplication of effort happens, the added risk and problems on the projects, your change orders, all the issues that we deal with that are not optimal workflow to deliver a project. So if we truly want to understand how much effort it takes to deliver a project, we simply straighten out those red arrows. And the order of magnitudes that you see now, that's how much it actually takes to build a project. And you know how far out it goes beyond that optimal perfect workflow. It all depends on how integrated our project teams are and how optimal our workflow truly is. So the extra time, the areas down here, this is the extra time that our projects are really truly taking, and this is the extra amount of money it takes to deliver a project from the owner's perspective compared to that optimal workflow. And all we're trying to do with technologies and everything you're doing, it all comes down to value, and all comes down to how can we make the timing better, how can we make it shorter, how can we make it better, how can we make it cost less. So all we're trying to do in the overall process is reduce this delta, the extra time and extra money it takes to deliver a project. And the best way to do that truly is by leveraging various virtual design and construction technologies and integrating a much more integrated way of delivering between all disciplines and included in AEC delivery. So truly, we're trying to deliver more work with better quality, with less effort and less waste. And again, in order to do that, we really need to take a look at a very, very team-centric approach that starts with this kind of 3D process, 3D-enabled design through coordination, scheduling, quantity takeoffs, prefabrication, a lot of field technologies, commissioning, handover process, ultimately into the life cycle and potentially digital twins. So again, if we take a look at the whole picture of what we can do, that's what we really truly as an industry need to be focusing on. You know, long gone are the days where we can just focus on what we need to do as the architect, what the engineer needs to do as an engineer, what a contractor needs to do as a contractor. We are serving our clients the best way by trying to combine all of our efforts into a very streamlined workflow. And again, that's why I call that management of the entire AECO lifecycle process. And notice that I put in AECO, architecture, engineering, construction, and operations, because operations is the integral part of the overall total lifecycle of facilities. Again, we as architects and the designers, we need to try to understand and try to plan for what happens after that facility is operated. So again, all the technologies we're trying to implement can streamline a lot of different ways of what we do with our workflows, right? We're trying to increase the design efficiency with technology. We're trying to increase the transparency of the process. And again, sometimes a lot of folks are going to advise us that transparency is sometimes not the best out there, right? But we do need to be transparent in the process if we want to serve our clients and serve the overall process best. We're trying to improve collaboration, improve constructability of our facilities, enhance our budget control, optimize that delivery process, the critical path, the schedule, the general conditions of the construction. Again, all this can be done if we take a holistic look into what workflow should be implemented, what technology should be implemented into delivering projects. Again, a lot of you work in small companies, a lot of you work in very large companies, a lot of you work on small projects, a lot of you work on large projects. Again, if you look at the process of these mega projects, early procurement, multiple bid packages, concurrent design and construction, this is a normal practice nowadays. Again, when you look at these multi-billion-dollar programs, especially, again, long gone is the notion where we prepare the construction documents and we issue the projects for bid, and we're starting construction after design is done. Again, we're the ones adapting to the process that includes concurrent design and construction, which poses a lot of different challenges. And again, we can also look at different ways on what happens throughout the construction process. How do we facilitate this commissioning, handover, activation of facilities process? We can streamline that through the decisions we make in the design phase a lot. But again, it takes us talking to our clients and letting them know what is possible out there. And when we look at current procurement methods, this is the challenge, right? Is how do we deliver all of this within the current constraints of project delivery? So I did a class just a couple of years ago at Aarhus University, where it was actually a roundtable where we talked about project delivery, and we're trying to figure out what project delivery method is the best for your project, and why? Why should you choose one over the other? And we look into, how can we work within these constraints to deliver best projects? So again, we look at design, bid, build, traditional, right? The owner is contracting with the architect and general contractor after bidding, and we have our engineers and we have trade subcontractors. Very kind of traditional way of delivering, which seems to be fairly fragmented, right? Then we have, currently very popular CMR process, the construction manager at risk, to where the owner hires the architect and the construction manager at the same time, typically, or closely related. But then again, we still all have our subcontractors and engineers, but there could be that correlation to where there's a lot of design assist between how we deliver our engineering and design, since the contractor is hired at the same time. A little bit more integrated, right? But there's still a lot to be desired in terms of the process. Design build, also very, very popular. A lot of different ways of doing design build, either through a design build contractor that hires all the subcontractors underneath, which has architecture engineering embedded, or sometimes the owner hires the contractor and then we work with the contractor, which I know a lot of us have our hesitations towards working for a contractor, right? And then we have the owner, a situation where the owner hires a joint venture, where we as the AE may joint venture with a contractor, and then we work together to do design build. And again, a lot of opportunities there, but again, there's still a lot of issues that can happen along the way. Still not optimal. And ultimately, there's IPD, right? And for those of you who have done IPD projects, how many IPD projects are exactly identical? Right, there's a lot to be desired there. Yes, it's a lot more integrated, but again, the owners are still trying to fight the whole issues about having shared risks, shared rewards. They try to push their risk away as much as they possibly can. It can go really well, it can go really bad, right? And there's no prescribed way of what IPD is. It's typically up to each individual contract to really define who does what when. And in this roundtable, we really looked into several factors, looked into contractual obligations, what the instruments of service are, liability, right? Are we delivering models? Are we delivering drawings? How are we delivering this whole process? And who does what, right? What are we contractually obligated to deliver? We looked at different collaboration technologies and how much we actually collaborate between each and every one of these project delivery methods. What type of technologies are prevalent? What types of roles, responsibilities do we have as part of this? Trying to understand who is doing what, why, looking at budget, schedule considerations, and the vast amount of folks that were in this roundtable, which was actually an online roundtable during COVID, fairly large, about 200 people or so, 200, 300 people. We concluded that really there is no one perfect method. And we looked at the way we can deliver work today and the way we actually deliver work today using technology really doesn't fit into any single one of these project delivery methods altogether. So there's a lot to be desired, right? We can do better than what the currently available project delivery methods are allowing us to do. And again, if you want to find out a lot more detail about this topic, again, there was an article published from the handout delivered by Autodesk. You're more than welcome to go and check it out and find out a lot more narrative about this topic. So project delivery is not quite perfect, right? We're trying to deliver all of this and try to look at what exactly can we deliver, right? What are all these dimensions of BIM? You know, everybody heard about building information modeling. Hopefully everybody knows what building information modeling is by now. But again, you hear about all these buzzwords, you know, 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, sometimes even 7D. What do they all mean, right? When do we use what? Again, I try to structure this course and really trying to kind of clarify a lot of these different aspects of BIM, a lot of different aspects of technology, and really try to talk about as much as I possibly can what I usually typically get asked by even our project teams as well. So 3D BIM is the start of everything, right? We do everything in models. We're delivering all of our construction documents. All aspects of the project are going back to the model, right? We're doing design modeling. We're doing all of our coordination, spatial coordination, clash detection, visualization. Everything starts with that 3D BIM, right? Well, like I said, we're performing a lot of virtual design reviews. We're running a lot of clash detection between different elements. We track all of the issues associated with the projects that start in the models. Again, we are trying to make the process much more intuitive rather than coordinating in 2 dimensions on drawings. And again, there was a lot of, Greg mentioned a lot of different seminars and a lot of different task forces that we work with NCARB. You know, we're looking at the future of what our industry is going to become. We're looking at that responsible charge. We're looking at, you know, what have we been doing with our project delivery versus where we are going in terms of what our responsibilities are as architects, and what will responsible charge evolve to. You know, what are the instruments of service? You know, are we starting to produce models more so than we are drawings? You know, what level of drawings are we going to be producing? Again, this is very different than the old ways of delivering drawings as the instruments of service into coming a lot more model centric. And that's where all these dimensions of BIM are geared towards, is exploiting the one source of truth that we have into multiple different use cases. And along with this 3D BIM, you know, you might have heard this concept of LOD, or level development, or level 100, 200, 300, all these different concepts of, you know, what the requirements are. A lot of owners are actually starting to be a lot more savvy in terms of requesting different levels of development and different deliverables, because again, they typically hire architects in their own teams to really try to streamline what they get at the end of the day and make sure that they're not paying for something they're not using, but at the same time, make sure that the delivery teams understand exactly what they need to deliver. So LOD is a concept brought by the BIM Forum, and it's a level of development. There's a whole big document called the Level of Development Specification that really talks about within each and every category, each and every spec section, essentially, what level of development means for those elements. And in the simplest of terms, it's the level to which we are required to develop our models in different systems and different components in a model. So LOD 100 is kind of the most basic. You would think about this if you're doing SketchUp modeling, you're doing some schematics, right? You're kind of developing very schematic type level of development, typically suitable for kind of early conceptual design. LOD 200 is a lot more kind of, you're taking it a step further. You're starting to introduce some generic ideas about, hey, this is a column. It's not just a mass, it's a steel column. Specific details of LOD 300 requirements take it a step further. You're actually assigning a size, starting to think about sizing, starting to be a little more specific about what that element is, right? And you're going from more generic elements that may be a column of any type to a column of very specific type, right? This is where you might start introducing specific mechanical equipment of specific manufacturer, for example, as well, that you think may be selected. LOD 350 takes it a notch further. Again, this is more detailed. You're starting to think about connections. You're starting to think about some constructability, some detailing level to help you quantify it more and be a little bit more detailed about what this really is. LOD 400 is exact replica of exactly what is going to be constructed in the field, right? And again, they correspond, the different levels of development can correspond with what we do, right? LOD 100 is pretty much concept design. LOD 200 is more equivalent to a schematic design level information that we provide. LOD 300 is more towards design development, right? We're being more specific about what we're providing in our models. LOD 350 is more equivalent of detailed design, construction documents, right? Providing more detailing and really trying to prescribe about the design intent of the project. And LOD 400 would be probably the closest to shop drawings or shop models, right? Where, a lot of contractors are starting to go directly from model to fabrication. And they're using LOD 400 models that take it a step further from our construction documents to really dive deep into fabrication level models that are far more detailed than what we produce in construction documents. And again, this is a lot, I'll talk about this later, but this kind of rift between LOD 350 and 400 is a big issue right now because LOD 350 is design intent. It's what we produce at the end of our design process. It's our instruments of service typically right now, still contractually. We produce construction documents that are design intent documents. When savvy contractors take that over, they produce LOD 400 models and they really transcend what we've done in design intent and they go a level beyond in fabrication. So at the end of the day, when we get down to as-builts, this is where the concepts of record models and record drawings come, which is what we produce as architects and engineers, which is a record of the design intent, essentially adapted throughout construction, versus the true as-builts, which are the contractors' as-builts. And there's a lot of confusion. A lot of owners are seeing a lot of inefficiencies from, well, I have these record models and drawings, and I have these as-built models and drawings, and they don't look exactly the same. I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to use when. This can be optimized, again, with technology. But anyway, when it comes to concepts of LOD, that's exactly what it is. And hopefully that clarifies it a little bit more. Feel free to ask any questions as well along the way. But again, I know in US we have LOD, but if a lot of you work globally as well, you might have dealt with a lot of European projects and a lot of worldwide projects. There's a new standard out there called ISO 19650. It's an ISO standard for building information modeling. And they've taken the LOD to yet another level. They call it LOIN, level of information need. And it's kind of an evolution of level of development. They prescribe not only level of development for graphical, what does this model look like? They actually prescribe what parameters, what information do we need in addition to just the geometric arrangement and geometric level of detail on the model. So again, it takes it a step further, and it goes more towards that life cycle of, hey, we can do more, or the owners should be able to do more with the deliverables that we produce at the end of the day as part of the design process. So hopefully that kind of clarified the LOD aspect, and it's all part of the 3D modeling. Again, level development is linked to 3D modeling. And again, when we look at the 3D BIM, I always like to look at, what are the common pain points versus what is the value. So in typical traditional design that a lot of firms still do out there, we do have fairly poor visualization. Again, we may do 2D document design, we may do some 3D levels modeling that's not connected to the drawings, and then you have that big disparity between, well, the model says one thing, the drawings actually say another. 3D BIM truly does help this. Coordination is very, very difficult as well, especially on complex projects. Trying to coordinate nowadays without 3D models, you're still relying on 2D to coordinate all your drawings against each other and against different disciplines. There's a far more superior way, again, with introduction of 3D coordination. And again, lack of transparency. Back in the day when I first started my career 20 plus years ago as well, we still delivered 2D design. And again, it was not very transparent. How far along are you? What are your consultants doing? You would rely on waiting until they issue their documents until you can look at their drawings and compare them to yours and coordinate and understand how far they progressed in the process. Again, 3D really takes that to another level. We have far improved visualization capabilities with 3D BIM. We have centralized coordination, again, where we have all the models that live in the same place. We can able to coordinate between different disciplines and coordinate between drawings and models. And we are providing, if we opt to, full transparency to the owners, to everybody, all key stakeholders, to be able to react to the design and react to our process along the way, rather than wait until formal issuances when it may be too late to make a decision that should have been a cost or costly, very timely decision throughout the process that wouldn't cost as much more. And again, 3D is truly a gateway to all the other things. Again, it's the benchmark. We can excel anywhere else of pretty much all the other technologies I'm talking about today. You can't go any further without starting with 3D design. So it truly is a gateway and a starting point to a lot of different things. The next thing I really want to talk about is 4D. Once we have the 3D models, what else can we do with them? Well, one thing is 4 dimensions, right? Assigning the aspect of time with the modeling. And again, we're able to really clarify the construction process and help our clients visualize, help the whole project visualize what this project really truly looks like, right? We're able to look at a lot of metrics, a lot of different information, track the project much closer, and improve upon that scheduling aspect of the project by using the model elements, aligning them with the schedule elements, and looking at that progression. So again, the reason why this is important is oftentimes schedule is a completely separate effort done throughout the construction process that doesn't have anything to do with modeling. And a lot of times there's issues that happen because of either poor scheduling, schedule doesn't really get updated, projects gets behind schedule. We really truly don't have a good visibility in what's being built when, what's the current state of the construction progress, how are we progressing against the planned the progress. It's very difficult to visualize this if we have a schedule completely separate from the model and design. And again, furthermore, right now, there's still a lot of projects that are required to be design, bid, build, and that very disjointed process of design and construction. And if we, as designers, still don't really try to understand how is this project going to be built? What does the logistics look like? How can we phase this to best serve our client? Again, this is a contractor responsibility, right? But we need to work together to really optimize what we're designing versus what's being built, and how do we stagger these processes to be much more efficient and serve our clients the best way possible for the most efficient projects. So again, 4D BIM, in a traditional way of scheduling projects, there's typically very, very poor communication between the teams during the design, construction, the owners. Schedules are hard to read, and it's very, very difficult to align the two together, causing oftentimes a lot of different issues. The scheduling process is very time consuming. The traditional scheduling process is very time consuming, updating the schedules. There's a lot of, because it's so disjointed, there's a lot of different opportunities to make errors, and projects do oftentimes have a lot of errors with schedules and sequencing of how work should be done without the logistics analysis with the modeling. When we do add the model aspect to the scheduling aspect in 4D BIM, we're improving the communication. Everybody is so easy to see and visualize in that animation. When you see the whole project being built against the schedule, it's very easy to see if we have any problems somewhere versus a streamlined process that makes sense, right? And we can oftentimes see a lot of logistics busts as well. If we're scheduling and sequencing work in a certain fashion, it's easy to spot those errors in an animation rather than trying to spot that problem in a very, very convoluted Gantt chart that not everybody can read. And again, when you look at things, the construction sequencing and everything else, it's a very manual process, and we're really adding more intelligence and transparency to this which really adds to the certainty of the whole process. Once we are aligning that model to the schedule, we know whether things are going to work or whether they're not going to work, and we're able to correct those errors before we figure them out too late in the field. Hopefully that kind of clarified what the 4D BIM is and what the purpose of it is. Taking that a step further, again, if we have detailed enough models, and I say this very carefully, if we have detailed enough models, we're able to pull quantities directly from the models. And again, this typically does, again, when we talked about those procurement methods, 5D BIM takes it a step further, right? If we are sharing all of our models with the contractors, a lot of us put disclaimers, this is not for construction, this is just for your to inform the contractor of the overall general arrangement. I've seen a lot of type of disclaimers associated with sharing the models. But again, if we're truly exploiting the best of BIM, we would be working in a somewhat shared model. We would be inviting and kind of co-creating to make sure that we can leverage these models for quantity takeoffs. Again, taking model-driven estimation can really benefit the owners greatly. And again, if we do our own design models and a contractor does their own construction models, and then they do their quantities from their own models, that's just not a very, very streamlined way to do that. Again, we can do this, but again, we have to think about this ahead of time. So we're not caught into, well, contractually, I'm obligated to do X, Y, Z, and I'm not doing this. Again, this is where the inefficiencies happen. We can really start thinking about this ahead of time. And if we are in an integrated type of delivery process, we can start thinking about visualizing and quantifying that model and helping produce cost estimates, helping assist with a lot of different cost-related functions in a project. Again, a lot of you might have heard that term QTO. QTO simply stands for quantity takeoff. Again, we're really aligning the cost line items with model items, assigning the cost factor to model elements, and having a good understanding. This is why I said that LOD. If we're going to go to this level of detail, we have to understand what is modeled versus what is not modeled. And the estimator must understand, okay, what else do I need to account for? All the general conditions, all the things that are not in the model. How do we really pull this all together into one seamless way of informing our client what we're doing, right? And what this project is really going to cost. So what is 5D BIM solving, right? The common pain points of our current process or typical process is, cost estimating is typically very slow and very labor intense. And we only get certain times where we do a cost estimate throughout the process. And that's kind of the spot check at that certain time of hey, here's what we think this costs. Probably not very, it's beneficial to understand that, but it can be better, right? Because it's not a continuous process, we really have a tremendous lack of informed decision-making ability, right? We only can respond once we see what the cost estimate is. Oh, well, we need to go value engineering right now. Oh, well, we actually have more money, so let's do more design. So it's not the optimal way to deliver a project, right? If we are continuously informed about the current state of where the project is going, we could probably be making a lot better decisions along the way. And again, ultimately, there's a lot of cost uncertainty because if we do spot checks, things change, market changes, quantities change, design changes. And did we really get it right? Right? How many times did you have a project that had certain cost elements missed or scope elements missed because a certain contractor didn't look in the right set of drawings and they completely missed that miscellaneous steel that we like to put in as part of architectural drawings, right? I always see it happen. How can we bring more cost certainty to that? And the answer is we can do 5D BIM. A lot of platforms out there to do that with. So we're able to do more detailed quantity takeoffs when we align the model with the cost estimate. We're able to do continuous value engineering. We're able to understand where a project stands if we work in an integrated fashion with a contractor to understand where we currently stand on the project. And it does bring a lot more cost certainty to the project when we are able to inform our client, here's the cost elements, here's the systems in the facility that are costing you the most amount of money. And here's how the progress of the design escalated the cost of certain factors. Maybe your envelope and your curtain wall is costing you too much money. Maybe we should reduce X, Y, Z. We have a lot more ability to bring a lot more cost certainty and flexibility to the project. And for those of you thinking, well, this really does sound like it's more work on my end. I used to do this kind of at spot times. I used to be uninterrupted when I do my design until these spot checks. You're right. It does put more burden on us. But again, I feel like it's our responsibility to serve our clients best, to deliver the best we possibly can. And when we're doing more work, it certainly is going to cost more money. So our clients need to be educated and understand that if they want all of this integrated in this project, they're not going to get the cheapest price on design. It's just a part of it. But again, when you think about the ability to improve the overall project, and I'll talk about this in a little bit as well, our additional expenses to do all this are just but a mere drop in a bucket of cost when compared to the overall benefits to the owner and to the overall project. I've been talking for a while. Hopefully I'm moving at a decent pace and not moving too fast. Any thoughts, comments, team? All good? Good to proceed?
Good
All
to
right.
keep going.
All right, perfect. Let me know if I'm moving too fast as well, because I can slow it down a bit as well. So 6D BIM, again, this is the yet another progression. Again, you've heard about digital twins, you've heard about probably all the zinger words in the market right now, a lot of different platforms. I have a whole section at the very end for digital twins that I'll touch on all that. But the 6D BIM is essentially, this handover process. Everybody wants these digital twins, digital replicas of facilities that we're designing and constructing, right? So the concept of 6D BIM and digital twins, for our built environment purpose, is we're taking these 3D BIM models that we have diligently produced throughout the design process and probably adapted throughout the construction process. We're adding a lot of information to us. And when you think about it, we add a lot more detail about the built environment as we're constructing it. So you're adding all the, model, manufacturer, serial numbers, installation dates, warranty start dates, a lot of the nameplate data that the owners may be using for maintaining their assets long after we're off the site, right? We're combining that 3D BIM that we created and enriching it with all this information from the construction process. And then we're adding all the handover documentation, all what's typically been issued as three-ring binders with O&M manuals, warranties, and all this handover documentation. We all had the specification section that talk about handover procedures and everything else we need to be given, the contractor needs to be giving the owner. There's a better way to really streamline that process, and it's not a three-ring binder. Again, we can append all the pertinent information about those assets back to individual asset types in those 3D models. And again, we're opening it up for the owners to explore what do they want to do with it after the fact. We can add a lot of information from their CMMS systems, the work order systems, work order management process, corrective maintenance, preventative maintenance, adding preventive maintenance manual information, instructions of how to maintain an asset. We can tie that back to the 3D model. And we can provide real IoT, which stands for Internet of Things, right? We're adding a lot of sensor data, feeds about current temperature, occupancy, humidity, any sort of factors that we want about the current state of the built environment. We can provide that information as a layer on top of that 3D visualization, the 3D model that we can create. And again, we can provide tie-ins to building automation systems. We can start automating. You probably all have some sort of automation systems in your houses by now, a smart light, a smart outlet, or any sort of smart building systems. All this can be controlled and managed through a digital twin of a facility. The whole point here is we have the ability in 6D BIM to create this single federated platform, uniform platform of all the systems and all the information and everything about the built environment, including the ability to understand how it currently operates, as well as operate it and control it through the use of these digital twins. And that's what 6D BIM truly is. I've heard sometimes this is referred to as 70 BIM. Sometimes they put in a 60 BIM of sustainability related. I'm still kind of keen of the approach of 3D, 40, 5D, 60 BIM, with the 60 BIM being that digital twin handover of facilities with the models that we're able to create. So truly, like I said, it's digital twin is in the center. It doesn't mean that all information is in one place. You know, you're not thinking that everything is sucked into this digital twin, or we're going to push all this information back into our Revit model. That's really not the intent here. The intent here is to create the one place. The digital twin is almost like a hub that gets information from different resources. So again, digital twin can get the geometry from 3D BIM models. It can get all the asset data, the information, that nameplate information from COBE. A lot of you may have heard of COBE, which a lot of our clients, especially government clients, are requesting, which stands for Construction Operations Building Information Exchange, which is essentially a giant spreadsheet tied to the model that describes those model elements even more with that information. The digital twin can get that information from facility handover data. Again, this may be stored somewhere in some sort of a common data environment, Google Drive, server, whatever, but it can be organized in a certain fashion to where you're getting that information through the digital twin. So you don't have to go browse different locations for all this information. Digital twins can tie back to CMMS systems. CMMS stands for Computerized Maintenance Management Systems. This is to manage your work orders and really to manage your assets, you know, as the owner. Again, you've probably heard of Maximo. Maximo by IBM is probably one of the most famous CMMS systems. But again, the digital twin, it doesn't replace the CMMS. It simply draws that information from the CMMS systems and is able to synchronize that information between the two systems. And like I've mentioned, IoT data, sensors. Again, the sky's the limit here. Again, there's a lot of different cheap sensors that can provide a lot of insights about the facility. It all depends on what the owner truly wants to understand about their facility. We can overlay that on top of the digital twin. The whole point of why do digital twins and what the benefit is to be able to create and make data-driven decisions about your facilities. You know, what should I replace? What should I move? How should I organize my space? Where should I move my people? There's a lot of different things that you can do as the owner of the facility if you have a digital twin. But again, the use cases vary greatly. And in order to be able to achieve those digital twins, I go back to that project delivery. There's a lot of different workflows of gathering that information to append to a model. So this is that information, that COBE spreadsheet that I mentioned. This is what COBE looks like if you've never seen a COBE spreadsheet. And again, if you just hand it, a lot of owners are asking for COBE. What are they doing with COBE? They may not do anything because it's sometimes thousands and thousands of rows of information that are impossible to navigate through if you don't know what you're looking for. So again, providing and deciphering this and making a system to take advantage of this is much better than just providing the COBE spreadsheet itself, if you will. And as you can imagine, this won't happen by itself. And a lot of owners start asking for this after design and construction is done. Well, that's really not the optimal way to do things, because then we have to go back and recreate a lot of these things and try to do probably the least efficient way of creating these digital twins. If digital twins are the end goal, this is something to be discussed early on. And this is where integrated delivery is really, really critical, because in order for digital twins to succeed, there's parts that the owners need to do, the facility managers, the architects, the engineers, the general contractor, trade subcontractors, even additional technology partners, different systems to specify. It's a very integrated process that's oftentimes delivered as an afterthought. And like I said, I'll dive a lot deeper into this later down the road, but a lot of times these efforts fail. And now you can see why they fail, because it takes very close monitoring of the overall process of how do you actually do this. And the whole goal is, again, we want to provide universal access to information to anybody who may be utilizing this facility. It could be a visitor, could be a patient, could be a student, could be a facility manager, could be a real estate manager. The sky's the limit here. There's a lot, but the premise is the same. We're making this information available in the format that it makes the most sense as part of the digital twin and 6D. So again, we use digital twins as part of design and construction. They're just truly an accurate representation of the built environment, which is a benefit in itself. It gives us a digital access to that information in a very streamlined way. We don't have to look for all that information. There's a lot of opportunities to streamline operations and maintenance, the work orders, proactive maintenance, probably even leveraging some machine learning and artificial intelligence to analyze and predict what's going to happen in the facility before it happens, so we can optimize that process. We can optimize the performance of a facility. If we know how the facility is performing at any given time, we can see deviations and make informed decisions to optimize the performance of the facilities. Again, we can enrich and understand our facility better through the use of sensors that are feeding information into digital twins. There's numerous, like I mentioned, numerous end user applications, whoever the end user is. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's just a facility manager. It can be anybody who's occupying the facility can make use of digital twins if that's the end goal, right? Wayfinding, again, a lot of times is spent trying to locate and navigate different systems and understand what's connected to what. And providing wayfinding to those assets really streamlines this process a lot. Wayfinding could be too, in terms of wayfinding through different facilities. How many times have you gone to a hospital? And how long did you take to find your way to the right place where you need to go? Again, if you're a patient or a visitor or whatnot, if you had a digital twin of that hospital, you can know exactly where you're going through the use of that application. A lot of different use cases and a lot of different augmented reality, which I'll touch on in a little bit. There's a lot of different ways to leverage the digital twin for different overlays, so you're understanding and have access to a lot more information than you would without having that digital twin in front of you. I know that's a lot. I promised a lot of content, a lot of information. Hopefully you're still with me, and hopefully you're following along, and hopefully I'm not moving too fast. So any comments, questions? I'm trying to monitor the chat questions, but I don't see anything coming in yet.
There are a few questions in the Q&A.
Okay, maybe okay. I was looking at I'm not looking at the right Q&A. Then I'm looking at host and panelist. I'm not seeing the correct Q&A. Would you mind maybe having a brief, if you wouldn't mind reading those to me?
Sure. Okay. Let's see. One person's asking, isn't this like the EVM project management process?
Which part are we talking about?
Yeah, that was early on in the beginning.
Gotcha.
So I can jump on to the next one if you'd like.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
How do you include LOI and LOIN standards in a project? Do you just add to the specification by reference? Does the standard have a template form that must be customized, or is it plug and play?
Again, I'm not a LOIN specialist, but again, LOIN is typically directed by the owner. Owners are requesting a lot of information, and it's a standard in which you organize all the information. It delivers what level of information you need in every single for every single element. And there's a big kind of workbook to organize all your information into and request information into, both for LOD and for LOIN. So it all depends on what your owner is asking for and what you're trying to achieve at the end of the project. And LOIN is not something that's still, ISO 19650 is not embraced in US very much. Our UK partners are using it a lot, and Middle East partners as well are using the ISO 19650, which guides the overall BIM process, not just the level of information need, but it prescribes how we deliver BIM, naming conventions, a lot of different things. So it's a very complex standard that is becoming, well, it's an ISO standard. So a lot of owners are turning to it.
Next question is, what platform or software do you use to add schedule 4D?
Yeah, there's a lot of options here. Again, we typically use Bentley Synchro. I've had project teams that are using Fusor, which is a lot more visual for construction sequencing. There's quite a few options out there, but I'd say Bentley Synchro is probably the most widely used platform. But even though 4D, the example I showed, Part of it, I believe, came from Medley Synchro, but you can use a lot of different visualization platforms to really visualize that schedule. I've even used visualization platforms like Lumion to produce a full 4D animation of the construction process to help inform all the stakeholders of a large hospital I delivered, our team I was part of delivered, to really help them understand what they're doing. So it all depends what you're trying to do with 4D, but there's a lot of platforms out there.
Okay, and then the last one I have here is how much market adoption are you seeing now with 4D, 5D, and 6D? What are the project sizes?
4D is again, we see a lot of 4D sequencing, a lot of linear projects as well. I'd say 4D is probably the most adopted right now. 5D makes sense if you're actually working in integrated ways with a contractor, right? If you're trying to do 5D quantity takeoffs, you have to have some sort of an integrated delivery process to do that. And again, the platforms are getting better. There's Assemble by Autodesk, which Autodesk purchased, which is a good platform for 5D, but a lot of contractors are starting to build their own 5D quantity takeoff platforms. I wouldn't say it's as widespread as 4D, but it's certainly gaining traction as well. The more we see, especially very complex, very fast track, very large projects are starting to see more adoption both for 4D and 5D. A lot of life science, pharmaceutical projects, things like that. Even though a lot of healthcare, a lot of hospitals, things like that too are benefiting from it as well. 6D, I probably get the most. If I had a penny for every time an owner requests a digital twin, I'm usually sent in as the bad guy to tell them they need to go back to the drawing board to understand why they need a digital twin to begin with, rather than just asking for one because they heard of one. There's a lot more involved process that I'll touch in as part of the digital transformation and digital twins about what happens. But today, I'd say 6D is the most widely requested, even though people and clients don't understand why they're requesting it to begin with. So hopefully that sort of answers your question. I'm currently working on a pilot adoption project with the U.S. government. I can't mention the client and all that, direct client, but working with federal government to pilot a digital twin project on a very large campus of about 12 facilities right now, specifically for facility management operations. So we do have projects that are pursuing digital twins. We do have projects delivering digital twins, but they're still few and far in between. Requests are flying rampant. The process is not as easy though.
I have a couple more. I don't know, do you want to take some more questions or do you want to go forward and then come back to questions?
I may take just a couple more and go from there.
Okay. All right. Design agreements are specific to I'll start over. Design agreements are specific to deliverables and liability. Integration with GC and subs makes that aspect difficult to draw boundaries in traditional contract. Any advice?
It all depends on which, and that was the big conclusion as well after that big panel I had 2 years ago with a lot of professionals from our field. Again, our current contracts draw too many restrictions, too many constraints to allow us to do what we can do best, leveraging technology. So again, this is something really to discuss with the entire project team of what are we trying to achieve as part of this project. Risk, especially again, I work at Jacobs. Jacobs is a $15 billion a year, 55,000 people across the globe. If you can imagine, we're typically the one with the biggest pot of money in a project, any project we go into. So we typically end up being the first ones that anybody wants to sue because, you know, let's face it, you always sue the person with the most money. So risk and liability is a huge deal about managing it. And not avoiding it necessarily, but managing it. And working with more proactive clients, they understand sometimes speed of market is the key. And they understand sometimes that we need to work as part of a larger team and we need to transcend our typical contractual relationships in order to do the right thing. And it's hard. And it's as long as we understand how to manage that risk and as long as we're upfront with it, it can happen. I've done a lot of contractual addenda to both the subcontractors, contractors, everybody else, really streamlining, hey, who needs to do what and when? It all comes down to that planning process and trying to understand what you're trying to achieve. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, how do you manage employees to optimize the amount of detail that goes into a BIM model without burning hours, i.e. putting in excessive BIM objects on a relatively simple project?
Education. Again, being upfront, we use a system on one of the projects we're working on right now called Plannerly. Plannerly is a good, no, I'm not pushing any software whatsoever, but it's a good tool to manage visually the level of development and be very upfront per every single component essentially in the project or system per specifications. We're managing and setting up front who is doing this type of modeling work and what level of development are we prescribing for which phase. And again, management of that process, model audits, education. When you see somebody that's putting in excessive amounts of detail that's not needed or not putting enough detail, again, bringing it back to the team, educating, training, a big part of it.
Okay, and then we'll take this last one.
Sure.
Are you seeing more BIM modeling in the residential sector?
I mean, multifamily residential, yes. You know, there's a lot of solutions by Autodesk that's specifying some generative design, which I'm not even touching on in this presentation at all. But there's Space IQ by Autodesk that's specifically geared towards multifamily residential that essentially does generative design, and you basically put in a lot of parameters to optimize the layout and the opportunities on any given site. That's going to expand beyond residential, but BIM is, again, for multifamily, specifically from a contractor perspective. If you look at multifamily, it's very repetitive. So contractors are really pushing prefabrication aspects. Again, I usually speak at the annual Advancing Prefab conference as well. But anytime you have a lot of repetitive elements, it makes complete sense to do it in BIM, because especially if we're working with contractors that can reap the benefits and go into that prefab process to really, again, serve our client the best, where we're able to achieve designs much faster, much more efficient, and we can advance the construction process a lot more quickly if we work with the construction team to optimize the design and construction delivery. But hopefully to answer your question. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I need a little breather as well. 2 hours is a long time to speak without any breaks. So hopefully you guys are still following along. We're going to jump into visualization, and I'm going to click on my presentation so I can actually advance it with my slide advancer. So I'm going to show a quick video over here that we put together as kind of a little highlight of our visual demo reel of what visualization can produce. Again, it's all about storytelling. It's all about visualizing and kind of speaking to a lot of different concepts to the clients to help visualize what we're doing, gain consensus of what we're doing. And this moves to music, which I'm kind of transcending here. So it kind of moves fast at sometimes, but it's all about bringing that aspect of design closer to people that are making decisions about it. And here's more 4D animation that was just shown over there. But again, really helps people understand the project better. Sometimes it's used just like over here, augmented reality, after the fact, being able to access information about it. Visualization through virtual reality, bringing information closer to people, creating virtual spaces that let people understand better about what you are doing. And again, creating those digital twins at the very end as well, that help our clients do certain things at the very end of the day with the information we created. And again, in visualization, we can create a lot of renderings, a lot of different ways to, like I said, portray exactly what it is that we're doing, and streamline that process, be a lot more transparent in the process. And again, visualization can also be about story, like I said earlier, storytelling, showing a lot of information and bring information closer to those that need to make decisions about it. We do a lot of drones as well, as you can imagine, to help visualize those concepts, like I said, and really portray a big picture of what it is that we're doing and gain consensus. So again, there's a lot in here. There's a lot of different options. We have a whole team at Jacobs called Visual Media Group that's a global group that helps a lot of our projects with specialty visualization needs. And again, you've all heard there's so many different things happening with visualization right now in the world. You've heard a lot of different acronyms between VR, AR, XR, MR. You know, what is all of this, right? So I'm going to try to kind of decipher it a little bit between different various types of extended reality. So you all have heard of virtual reality. Again, you probably see a little shelf behind me over there. I've got a lot of different virtual reality tools that I use on a daily basis with our designs as well. Virtual reality is simply putting on a virtual reality headset, which I'll talk about here in a second, and being fully immersed in a completely different world. So again, you have no awareness of what's going on around you. You're fully immersed in virtual reality, and you're 100% in a whole different space. That's VR. On the other end of the spectrum, you have AR, augmented reality. And augmented reality can be achieved either through headsets that let you see the reality around you and augment it by providing an additional layer of information. So, you know, if I put on my AR headset, I could see more information about the lamp I'm looking at right now, for example, and know what it is if there's an overlay of that information. Or, you know, you've seen a lot of different augmented reality applications already. You can even do it with your tablets or phones or all things like that. It's just overlaying information and on top of reality that you already see. Mixed reality kind of fills in between that. You're able to see an augmented reality aspect of things, but it is being attached and it interacts with the elements of the actual reality. Think about Snapchat. Think about, again, for you, if you go to Sephora even, and you try on virtual makeup. I've seen my wife do it. You know, you can try on virtual makeup and it kind of applies lipstick or eyeshadow to your eyes. And when you move around, it actually moves with you. It's an augmented view of the world around you, but it interacts with the elements of the actual reality. That's mixed reality. And all of these realities fall under the umbrella of XR, extended reality. Extended reality is everything. VR, AR, MR, it's all a part of XR. So hopefully that's a little helpful to understand what the different types of acronyms are that are currently being thrown out a lot today in the industry. I'm going to go into hardware. Again, hardware, this is the ever-evolving. You probably see several generations of different reality hardwares behind me as well on my little shelf over there. But again, this ecosystem is rapidly evolving, and I try to kind of represent the different types of devices that you may see out there today. The big VR and AR devices, kind of the breakdown is, are they tethered or are they not tethered? Untethered is basically no cords. They're standalone devices. They have a computer essentially built in. All you need is that device in itself. Tethered is, hey, I actually need to connect this device to a laptop, whether wirelessly or whether through wires. There's an aspect that you are using the computing power of a computer or a laptop in addition to having a headset that's pretty much just displaying information for you. It all depends on when do you use which device, depends on what you're trying to do. But the most kind of popular ones you've heard of, probably the Meta Quest 2, which used to be Oculus, and they just released a brand new Meta Pro. And again, I can put some pricing to this. This is about a $400 device. This is about a $1,500 device. HTC Vive Focus 3 is also an untethered device, about $1,400. Vive Pro, it can use some external sensors as well. It can use a computer. This is also about a $1,400 device. It's a tethered device. Those are your typical virtual reality devices available today. I'd say Meta Quest 2 is probably the most widely used, and that's the one you see behind me over there as well. If you're going into augmented reality, one of the that's been around the most is Microsoft HoloLens 2. And again, the U.S. Army struck a contract with Microsoft, who developed it, to look at possible applications for augmented reality for Army purposes. And there was a multi-billion-dollar contract to do that with. So, and again, there's a lot of training opportunities with the augmented reality devices. There's another one that's out there, Magic Leap 2. It's a tethered device. So this one actually uses a little small computer through a cable to display things. Not nearly as much as popular as HoloLens, but it's still out there. And again, we're just all waiting on when is Apple going to be releasing their version. So you see that the biggest companies out there are starting to look into different options for AR, VR devices between Meta, Microsoft, Apple. Again, a lot of options out there for this. Some of the platforms, again, the platforms are running wild as well, no pun intended, but there's a lot of platforms out there to be able to explore augmented virtual reality. I'll show you some examples here later as well. There's the Wild by Autodesk, and again, a lot of companies are purchasing platforms that have been developed. Autodesk recently purchased 2 of them, the Wild and Iris VR. Great platform for, and I'll mention Metaverse here in a second. Great platform for being able to work collaboratively with a team that may be all the way around the world. Enscape is another platform that goes directly into Revit, and you're able to run very quick kind of renderings and animations and virtual reality with varied degrees of comfort level inside virtual reality, if you will. Twinmotion by Insight VR is another big player in the industry right now. Twinmotion, owned by Epic Games. And again, this is where gaming kind of is getting blended in with our industry as well. We have a strategic partnership with Epic Games, and we're developing a lot, even digital twins, based on Epic Games platforms as well. So those are probably some of the key players in the industry. Unity Reflect, Visual Live is another one. Visual Live allows you to kind of overlay BIM models on top of the real world, and even do remote assist to somebody that's in the field to be able to access models and instructions for somebody sitting somewhere else versus them who are actually in the field. Fusor, I mentioned that it's actually a VR, AR platform that's also capable of 4D as well. Vim is another platform. Revisto is a big collaboration platform for issue tracking and collision detection. But it also has the capability for VR for different types of purposes. So again, I only named a few. There's a lot out there, and I would say, I did a class at Autodesk University, and I presented at 2016. There was basically almost no platforms available at that point, 2015, 2016. Versus today, you've got a tremendous amount of opportunities to choose from, depending on what you're trying to do. Visualize or collaborate, coordinate, things like that. And I'll show a quick little video for visualization as well. This is a quick reel that we kind of created for one of the projects that show different types of visualization. Again, from 3D BIM to coordination. This is that Revisto model that you're able to overlay 2D and 3D drawings and sections and details to very high level of detail animations, comparing and looking at actuality versus reality, more different models, looking at, the animations that can present the virtual space years ahead of construction, yielding in exactly the same conditions at the end of the day. Again, giving that ability for the stakeholders to truly understand that what they see is truly what they get. And again, having that level of development. This is the actual space that I was just showing there after construction. But again, animations that are derived from the exact same models that the fabrication model. This is an LOD 400 example here that shows you the level of coordination between different systems and the level of comfort that the end users have when their animations and their virtual reality is created exactly from the same models used for construction. Again, this is an actual photo of the built condition of that same room. This is with my previous employer as well, but we did a lot of virtual reality simulations. We took in surgeons and doctors and facility managers, and we let them interact with the space, tell us about the space, and really helped our design process to truly optimize and do a lot of value engineering. Some small things that we changed yielded sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in optimizations of things that wouldn't be caught on the drawings, but are caught in different visualization aspects. And again, starting with very accurate conditions. I'll talk about reality capture here in a second, but even being able to visualize a lot of photogrammetry, the current construction sites, if you will, construction logistics, being able to bring all of this level of information into project meetings and to all the stakeholders, very, very important. And it all works together to streamline that overall process, if you will. So I mentioned some use cases. Again, I mentioned Visual Live. This is a particularly interesting one because it does give you the ability to use HoloLens type devices that can be mounted directly to a hard hat. And again, you're able to be in the field and overlay that augmented reality, whether on tablets or HoloLens or different devices. If you have those 3D models, remember how I said 3D models are the start to a lot of different technologies? If we didn't have those accurate 3D BIM models, we wouldn't have anything to look at. So all of this is derived from the 3D BIM model. It truly is that starting point that enables you to check for quality, check for accuracy directly in the field when you're doing things. Again, those animations and augmented reality overlays, we do a lot of kind of drone visualization and drone videos, and then overlay those with simulations of either construction sequencing or the finished products to make sure that everybody agrees and understands exactly what they're getting. And again, we do this to a lot of different variety of projects, if you will. And again, virtual reality. Sometimes it is okay to be fully immersive, to coordinate, to really look into those projects, walk through the projects yourself. We do a lot of, sometimes even on sites, we use safety training for particularly hazardous conditions. We're able to train personnel in virtual reality, eliminating that red risk factor and making sure everybody is on board to what they're walking into. So a lot of different applications for virtual reality. Like I said, personally, I've worked with healthcare clients and saved them and optimized their design and saved hundreds of thousands of dollars in things that were on drawings for ages, but nobody saw it. And then a quick 15-minute review in virtual reality helped out with nurses that are using the spaces every single day, help optimize those designs and literally save, I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of thousands of dollars using virtual reality. So my point is, it's not a gimmick. It truly can help your process if you're using it as part of the process and not just a, hey, here's a presentation I'm going to give you in VR. It can be much more than that. And finally, we get to the concept of metaverse. A lot of you have heard of metaverse, a lot of controversy about metaverse today, right? About what it is and what we're doing with it. It's truly a virtual world that with a lot of key players are trying to create for people to live in, to work in, to shop in, interact with others, all from the comfort of my chair right here. I can go into the metaverse and I can do all those things to a very degree levels of degree to interact with other people in the metaverse. A lot of companies are down that path. Again, you've heard, obviously, everybody knows of Facebook, which is now Meta, which completely changed their business model and what they're doing and creating the metaverse. And again, they've lost 70% of their wealth ever since they've done that, but they truly believe in this metaverse and they're going to go on that path and they're not going to stop, even if it destroys them. Epic Games, Unreal Engine, Microsoft, all of these are key players in the development of the metaverse. And the big part of, why this is happening right now, you all remember the world without the internet, right? And then internet came and it changed how we do things. And then we've evolved into what we can do with the internet. Right now, we're streaming movies and watching Netflix and a lot of different things using the internet, which was not even a concept before, right? So the internet evolved. The whole point of the metaverse is a lot of these companies believe that metaverse is the next iteration of the internet. It's going to be the next evolution. And there could be a tremendous amount of money in the metaverse, or it could mean the demise of some of the biggest giants that we have in the industry today. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen, but all I know is the metaverse has a significant amount of impact of what we do and can have impact on what we do as part of our industry. And if you think about building a brand new world, somebody's going to have to build that brand new world. And if you think about what we all do, we're all architects, right? Somebody's going to have to architect this brand new environment. And we could be architecting the metaverse as well, building digital worlds as well as building physical worlds. And again, we're the most creative of the bunch, right? So we're the ones that have the expertise to create a brand new world in which people are going to be interacting with. Again, sound a lot familiar to exactly what we do in the physical world? It should, because it's literally identical. And there's going to be a tremendous need for this if it really goes down that path. Oops. Sorry, that was one extra slide that wasn't supposed to be there. I wanted to show you a quick video. Hopefully this is going to launch. There we go. Of what we do with the metaverse today. Again, it's not just a concept that's out there somewhere. We are using the metaverse on some of our projects with some of our clients. Again, we're able to create, and this is what you're seeing here is the Wild. The Wild is literally a platform that Autodesk acquired, and it's the ability to create virtual environments to invite people into, coordinate with people. And right now, we're actually in this meeting, we're running a virtual conference room in which we're literally pinned 2D animations, different types of aspects, imported models, and we all invited people into this virtual conference room to review a project in a typical fashion that we would review this project in a physical conference room, with the added ability of being able to do so much more with this process. Again, we're able to, again, see each other's avatars. We're able to look over a site plan, mark it up, do everything. Again, and this team was spread all around the entire world. Some people were in VR, some people were on their computers being a part of this meeting. Some people, we actually did a physical representation of this conference room, and some people were in the physical conference room as well. So again, we really were able to bring in models, bring in different environments, interact with everybody to really walk through basically a design review meeting and a progress meeting, and look at different aspects of different things all in one place. This is that metaverse aspect of collaboratively working in a space together, and able to talk to each other directly through the headsets. We could go to different rooms and have separate conversations. We could move, spatial audio allows you to go, if me and Allison went into one corner of the room and another 2 or 3 people went into a different part of the room, we could have separate conversations, and it understands where you are in the space. Right now, Allison was taking me into a different environment. So me and her went into a different environment that I'll show you here in a second. But again, we're able to take in and we're able to review certain aspects, create multiple rooms, and really have a very streamlined, very efficient, very productive meeting in different environments. And again, we can bring in different models in, we can go directly into those models, review certain things, put different notes, create annotations. Again, this is the collaborative aspect that is simply not available when you're looking at 2D drawings. Again, so like I said, a lot of different options from metaverse. We certainly keep a close eye on it. A lot of our clients are requesting their own versions of their own environments of what they could do with it. But again, like I said, there's a lot of opportunity here, and you should look into it. It would be my recommendation. Understand what's going on with it, and keep an eye on it, because it is coming. It's a lot more collaborative way of doing things. Anyway, I'll skip through this video in interest of time and move forward. Any question about visualization so far?
Let's see. Well, I've got some questions here that they're kind of similar about, okay, so I'll read a few of them. It says, how willing are clients to invest the money for these type of processes, the BIM 3, 4, 5, 6D? Are they built into the cost of project delivery? And then similarly, what's the lowest cost way to begin with this kind of technology in the field? And also some examples of how the VR experience saved clients money. So it's kind of all together.
Yeah. Again, let's put it this way. On our end, not doing something is cheaper than doing something, right? So all these things I'm talking about, I'm not going to say 3D BIM. 3D BIM is a direct replacement for what we're doing with 2D drafting and documents. 3D BIM allows us to create that, and I would say replaces it. So we should not be charging more for 3D BIM, the baseline, because ultimately, if you're doing it right, it should save you money and your client money in how you're doing it. But all these additional things, the animations, the virtual reality, the 4D scheduling, all these the different aspects, yes, they're going to cost more money than not doing it. But this is where the cost to benefit analysis needs to happen. The owner needs to truly understand what they're paying for and what they're expecting out of it. If we're doing it just to do it, it probably doesn't make sense, right? But if we're targeting a specific problem, and we're solving that problem, it absolutely makes sense. For some of our clients, especially in life sciences, speed to market is absolutely critical. I mean, we're delivering ridiculous projects, like billion-dollar projects in a year. And it moves at such fast speed. Not doing all of this, there's no way we could do it. It literally would not be possible to do that. So for those clients, they're absolutely willing to pay more money if we can deliver. So we're literally looking at, okay, what technologies do we need to be able to deliver in this type of fashion? So again, like I said, it warrants a conversation with your project delivery team, with your owners. What do you care for the most? And again, investing in technology, the only technology that's expensive is technology that's not being used. So if you are using the technology, it's not an added expense. It's just a way of how you do things that's built into the cost of what you're doing. So again, we usually try to encompass, we try to not add this to our price and this and that and the other. We usually try to assess what are we going to do in this project, and let's see an all-in price, which is typically why you won't see Jacobs being the low bidder on a lot of different things. We do enhance and enrich our project with this, but it's only to solve specific problems and to deliver added value to the clients. Best way to get started, it all depends on what your opportunities are. Again, on what the size of your company is, what type of projects you do. Assess what makes the most sense to your projects and speak up. That's the big thing, and I'm going to touch on later, is our clients don't know all these things. So educating ourselves about it, about the opportunities, the art of the possible, I like to say, and then bringing that to the clients. I say to all of our teams as well, don't be yes men and yes women. When somebody asks you to do something, yes, we're going to deliver that, but do you know about XYZ that we can also deliver that will enhance this process? If we don't bring it up, if we don't throw it out there as an option, our clients are typically not going to be asking for it. So we're the ones that need to be progressing our industry forward and really offering this to our clients and say, have you considered this? Have you thought about this? Give them a presentation, invest some time to educate your clients about the art of the possible. And if you present it in such a way to show them value, they're more than likely going to say, yes, let's do this. And that's at least my recommendation.
Okay, here's a couple questions on kind of getting started. Do you have an opinion on the best VR headset to display high quality 3D models? So do you have an opinion on that? And then also another person says, we're a small shop animating with Lumion and running into server and rendering engine choke points. Do you recommend to render on the cloud or a server basis? Is BIM Cloud a good host?
Yeah, these are very specific questions. Lumion is not a VR platform. It's a visualization platform. And when it comes to the right software, the right hardware, this is when you have to take consideration of what are you trying to showcase, right? It's not the same if you're trying to showcase a 50,000 square foot facility with high level of detail versus going into a million square foot facility that you're trying to visualize as well. And are you trying to do it for coordination or visualization, or what are you trying to do with it? So the type of headset you use and the type of software you use varies greatly based on what you're trying to do. And this is where the trial and error knowledge of what use for what is paramount. Quest 2, like I said, it's a lightweight platform. It's not the most powerful platform. You can tether it to a laptop and make it more powerful, which makes it a kind of a dual use device. So my recommendation probably is towards that. Having said that, we're going into Meta Quest Pro right now. We don't even know what it is yet because they just released a week ago. So we're going to find out what that is sooner rather than later. But again, it all depends on what you're trying to do with it. And I know it's kind of a vague answer, but without specific use cases, it's hard to understand how to answer a question without the constraints you're given. We're going to primarily all cloud. If we can do it on the cloud, we can, and that's kind of our direction. We're trying to limit physical infrastructure and enable our virtual infrastructure as much as possible. I'm going to get going into reality capture. Reality capture is the process of leveraging different technologies to capture the reality around us, right? Capture dimensions, capture photos, capture photogrammetry models, meshes, scans, There's a lot of different ways to do this. Again, the two primary ways to capture the environment around us is either photogrammetry, what can be done with 360 cameras, with drones, with regular photos that are overlaid to create these 3D mesh models. But basically, they're using some sort of photography to interpolate the points and create 3D models. And believe it or not, this actually is a 3D model created from 2D photographs from a drone. You can get a lot of imagery, a lot of quality from that as well. Photogrammetry is typically not the cleanest, not the most accurate, but it is probably the fastest way of capturing the world around you. Again, I've got a little drone behind me over there as well that you can see, which fits in the palm of my hand, but I've captured some tremendous data sets with that little tiny drone that costs less than $1,000. LiDAR, or laser scanning, is another way of, probably the most popular way of capturing reality around us. And a lot of you have heard about laser scanning, but it stands for light detection and ranging. It's literally sending millions and millions and millions of laser beams, bouncing them off of objects and capturing information about how far is it, what does it look like, what color it is, and basically interpolating all those points into what's called point clouds to create laser scans, which are identical replicas of the world around us. They're probably the most accurate and the most high quality way of capturing the world around you. Having said that, just like virtual reality, there's a tremendous amount of reality capture devices out there. Again, you can start from a $20,000 laser scanner all the way up to like a $150,000 laser scanner. You can hold them in your hands, and this is about a $50,000 scanner. You can put them on a car and drive down 60 miles of highways at the highway speeds and capture reality. You can put them on your body if you want and walk around and capture information. You can fly a laser scanner with a high precision drone. You can put it on your back as a backpack. You can hold it in your hand. You can drive it around as a cart. You can put it on a tripod. There's a lot of different ways to capture, or a lot of different laser scanners. And again, this is where that understanding and knowledge comes from, right? Understanding when would you use what type of laser scanner. Similarly to that, there's a lot of different 360 cameras to be able to capture. Again, there's high-end cameras, there's handheld cameras that I have over there. This is actually my hard hat that I use on projects to capture things with my 360 camera. You can use them handheld with a little selfie stick. You can put them on a tripod if you want. A lot of different form factors. You can do 3D cameras like the Matterport camera here, a new Matterport camera. Again, these solutions vary from $400 to about $5,000, right? It all depends on what you're trying to achieve with 360 photogrammetry and 360 cameras. Again, it can be very convoluted, and I'll share something with you that I can share after the fact as well that hopefully will answer a lot more questions about it. When it comes to drones, there's, again, same type of picture here. There's the small little drones like the one that I have, to mounting different types of cameras, thermal imagery, laser scanners, fixed wing drones, very simple camera drones, drones that fly themselves with laser scanners, autonomous drones, the drones that will fold themselves. This is the identical one that I have. There's a lot of different options, and here they vary from $500 to probably $50,000 for drones as well. The sky is the limit. It all depends on what you're trying to capture. And then last but not least, autonomy. It's coming to be very, very popular. You know, Trimble Spot, the little very fun to play with dog-like from Boston Robotics that you can mount laser scanners on, to Boston Dynamics platform that now comes integral with Leica cameras that can do fully autonomous, or, you know, navigate it with your own handset, if you will, to autonomous drones that can capture. You basically set the parameters, they'll capture everything themselves. Drones with laser scanners that just like the just newly released Leica BLK scanner drone, all the way to fully automated, they call them drone in a box solutions, that you can deploy a drone in a box on a site and it can fully automated run functions, scan sites, provide you insights anytime you need them, or even you can lift them off whenever you want to provide live feedback from the site when you may be operating remotely somewhere far, far away. I will say that this last solution here is still kind of frowned upon by FAA. They don't allow it. But again, elsewhere in the world, there's jurisdictions that are allowing a drone in the box with fully autonomous pilotless solutions that allow you to, I could fly a drone in Saudi Arabia right now if I wanted to from my computer. Kind of fun. A lot of options for that autonomy. And then when it comes to platforms, this is where it gets even more difficult, right? There's so many platforms for 360, for LiDAR, for construction progress tracking, Reconstruct, OpenSpace, HoloBinder, Syntu Cloud, management of clouds, registration of these point clouds like Recap Pro, Leica Cyclone. There's a lot of different options here. So again, to be able to do this, you need to have a professional that understands what's available right now and what are you trying to do. Likelihood is if you try to do something, there's a solution for it. But you need to ask those questions up front. Are you using this during design, construction, operations? What are your deliverables? What are you trying to do with it? What data are you trying to collect? What's your budget for doing this? What type of project is it? What are the site constraints? Again, we kind of did this process where I created a brochure called Reality Capture Technologies and Use Cases. And we really kind of created that brochure in order to go down to technology devices, explain what different 360, 3D cameras you have options for, tripod mounted LiDAR scanners, handhelds, wearables, vehicle-mounted, drone-mounted cameras, drone-mounted LiDAR scanners, even manned aircraft type solutions that are very useful for citywide capture, ground penetrating radar, even remote assist devices like I talked about, and then aligning those to services throughout the project lifecycle. What type of service during design phase, what type of deliverables, what type of recommended capture hardware, and what purpose and benefits you would do. Again, I'm not going to go through all of this, but you can go through design, pre-construction, construction phase, different types of services that you can run, and again, recommended hardware, software, and all of that. We've created this internally just to educate our clients to understand, again, what is the art of the possible and what is, what can we do? What is it going to cost and what to use it for? So from that perspective, I thought it'd be really, really handy for me to show you. I think I have a few minutes as well. I'd like to show you a couple of solutions as well of what this can look like, if you will. So this is a Matterport scan that you probably have seen if you bought a house recently and all that. You probably have seen 360 walkthroughs on a Matterport. I'm going to make it large screen over here, but this is we're moving our current office in St. Louis into a new location. So I did an existing condition scan real quick with a Matterport that our design teams can go through and have some information about the space. They can do quick measurements because this was done with a 360 3D camera. So again, I can create quick measurements about the space. I can walk around the space and have a lot greater insight into this project, if you will, that way. And because this was done with a 360 or 3D camera, with a Matterport camera, it did create a 3D model of the space. Again, I could import this into Revit if I wanted to, but again, a 3D camera is really not the most accurate way to look at things, if you will. And there's more accurate ways of capturing this information as well. But again, it's very, very useful to create kind of the existing conditions. It's a little time consuming, but it can provide a great amount of value to project teams, right? If I wanted to, I could have captured the same type of information, but I could use a drone. Again, drones are used a lot for photogrammetry, and I kind of talked about that. First of all, you're capturing a lot of information about the site itself, but you can go into an aerial imagery, but you can go into a 3D model that a drone created. And again, I didn't do this one myself, but this level of information and detail would probably take, I'm going to put in the high D mode over here. I could probably capture all of this less than an hour. And it creates and you can see kind of how it's still spooling. It's on the cloud, but it's providing some information about the project. And you can do this from time to time. You can track progress for this project. And you can do historical overviews of what's been built when. And again, you can see that it's capturing a decent amount of detail. But again, if you look at it though, it's still kind of, I call this kind of melted marshmallow. Photogrammetry tends to kind of create these meshes, which are sometimes not as detailed, if you will. But again, the software is so smart that you can click on the inspect button, and I can click on that item, and it's going to give me the image that the drone took, a high quality image of that space itself. So I can see a high quality picture directly from the drone. And if you look at that inspect function, this is the location of where the drone took those photos. And I can tell you that these photos you see up here on top, the top layer, these were taken fully automatically by the drone. We basically preset the path. We can do this every single week, every single day, and the drone can fly this itself. The ground photos, these photos around, these are typically created by the end user. And again, I can click on any single one, and it's going to give me a high quality picture of what that looks like. Very, very useful. Again, drones are, and again, for the level of information this provides, being able to pull in current conditions of the site during a construction meeting or any sort of way, or if you're doing existing conditions, if you're doing some conceptual planning, some master planning, you can capture acres and acres of land in very, very quick ways and get something that Google Earth won't give you, because this is up-to-date, today information of what this looks like, right? So that's only one of the ways that you can capture information as well. When it comes to progress tracking, again, you can take in information, and this is one of our sites in UK, I believe. But you can take progress tracking and track progress of the construction sites using that camera that I showed you that was mounted on my hard hat, which I actually have right here. 15 minutes gets you a walkthrough. You don't have to take photos. It automatically takes all the photos for you. You're literally doing what's called a video walk, and it captures an entire 360 construction site of it. What's even better is if you have that very, very important 3D model that you created, you can launch the 3D model automatically as well. And it will compare the current progress of the project to that 3D model. And again, you have full autonomy. You can see the 3D model here. As I move one, the other one moves along with it. And you can compare, you can turn on and off layers. This is directly from the cloud. You can see the progress of the construction doing a virtual inspection versus the model itself. And again, if I wanted to, I could compare and have a historical backup of, well, I really wanted to know what was installed here at an earlier date. I can go open up and launch that historical view, and I can look into, on the calendar, I can look into days that this was captured on, and I can see the condition, May of 2022. This is what the space looks like at that time. So again, you're able to log that perspective, and now I'm looking at the progress of one versus the next in different times. And again, how many times would this be so beneficial to have absolutely what was done when on the project along the way? So very, very beneficial. We're starting to use this in increased fashion on a lot of our projects to, again, have a historical backup of what's being done, be able to answer any questions. You can take individual snapshots. You can jump on any single location on this floor plan. It automatically gives you everything on the floor plan, where you're looking at, where you walked. You can jump into individual rooms, and very, very beneficial. So again, very quick reality capture that gives you a lot of insights through just 3D models. And again, very quick and inexpensive. When it comes to more dense things, again, this was a reality capture created by that autonomous drone. So this drone literally went into this space right here, and it was default preset to say, hey, I want to capture this building. The drone did this all by itself. Now, this is high quality. This can be fully measured because this is a laser scan. This is what's called a point cloud, and you're able to import this directly into Revit and do a lot of different things with it. And again, the scans themselves, they range from a lot of different quality levels, a lot of different where you're scanning the indoors, the outdoors. You can capture a lot more, a lot less. This is a scan that my team captured of an entire hospital that we did, full exterior scan, not with a drone. This was done with a terrestrial laser. And again, if you can imagine, this was a laser scanner that can capture things directly from the ground in high distances. So very, very useful, whether it's used for existing conditions verification or as-built verification or doing construction as constructed versus what you're currently doing. Again, a lot of applications for reality capture. I can't speak enough about it because I truly believe in it, and I think that it's very, very beneficial to use on a lot of your projects. Any questions about reality capture? I know I kind of captured that one. We have about 20 minutes to go or so. Any questions, any thoughts?
Let's see. I guess we'll wait a second, see if anything comes in on reality capture. And give everyone a second to type.
Okay. We're down to digital transformation, digital twins. I have to say I haven't timed this presentation before. I wanted to give you a lot of information. I hope that I'm not moving too fast, but I think we'll be able to cover the full agenda in the 2 hours that we have.
Well, it doesn't look like we've gotten anything on that yet. So you
Okay, great.
Okay.
I'm going to proceed with digital transformation really quickly, and I'm going to go a little bit higher level before we get down into digital twins. So bear with me, please. As talking about digital transformation, I want to talk about digital disruption first. And this is when technology interferes with what we do and gives us an entirely different way to do things, which disrupts the way that the industry works or certain aspect of industry works, right? So this was an older slide, but 50% of business leaders said that they already know digital disruption is happening in their industry, and 70% anticipated that it will impact that industry greatly. And again, but unfortunately, digital disruption is always thought about as a very negative thing, but it doesn't need to be a negative thing. It can be a very positive thing as well. You know, without digital disruption, you wouldn't have some of the most successful companies in the world, like Amazon, you know, the world's most valuable retailer that basically owns no inventory. You know, the world's largest accommodation provider, Airbnb, that doesn't own any real estate. The largest media company in the world, Facebook, that produces no content, and the largest taxi cab company like Uber that owns no vehicles. Again, without digital disruption, these companies wouldn't be able to do what they've done to create their empires. And this is a very staggering information. 4 out of 10 market leaders will be displaced in the next 3 years by digital disruption. This is an older slide, but it's still applicable today. Again, these four out of 10 companies will be the companies that do not embrace digital disruption as part of their business plan. And they will be displaced by companies like Google, like Apple, like Tesla, like Netflix, like Amazon, like Microsoft. And even those companies, this is where I love presenting this slide right now. Look at what's happening right now. Netflix is having problems, right? Tesla is facing some issues. You've got Facebook that lost 70% of their market share. This is very applicable because if those companies don't reinvent themselves and don't stay up with the digital disruption that's happening, they will become one of those 4 companies that will be displaced. So this is an ever flexible ecosystem to where you have to embrace digital disruption. Otherwise, you will be taken down by somebody that does. Very interesting, if you ask me. But again, the biggest thing about this is we're trying to solve all these problems that are being brought on by digital disruption, but we can't start solving problems unless we define what they are first. And I cannot stress this enough. I'll talk about this in my digital twin bit here in a little while. But again, I always try to tell the customers and the owners and the clients, we have got to help you understand what your problems are before solving them. And sometimes they pitch solutions that they want us to deploy, and sometimes we have to say no because we don't know whether those solutions are the right thing to do. And more often than not, those solutions or problems go back to costs. You know, we have a rising cost of design, construction operations, and it leads to increased total cost of ownership. Most problems typically go down to that cost aspect of things. And unfortunately, a lot of clients, they do want to say, hey, how big a paycheck do you want me to write you, and how much more money are you going to make me back as part of it? So yeah, that's the challenge is, how do you talk to your clients to let them know that there is a solution, but we have to go back to the drawing board a little bit to identify what your problems are. And a lot of times when you think about, I mentioned this earlier, the total cost of ownership, a lot of our clients don't understand that 75% or more of the total cost of ownership of their facilities is actually after we, the architects, engineers, step away, after operations maintenance starts in the O&M phase. And our ability to help them with that total cost of ownership of operations, our ability to help them with that drastically declines throughout the design and construction process. So not about you, but to me, what that says is we have the most opportunity to help our clients during the design and construction process. We have to do more than just design and construct their abilities. We have to figure them out, how to help them figure out how to reduce that cost during design and construction. And that's the opportunity that we have to help our clients. But in order to do so, again, we first need to establish some benchmarks for our clients, help them understand how do they do things right now, and help them understand some goals, some strategies of how they're going to get there. Help them understand who is the right entity to do what type of work, when are they supposed to do it, how are they supposed to do it. But most importantly, we have to help our clients understand why are they doing it to begin with. Because if they don't understand that, they have a lot of problems ahead. And if you're trying to help them with something that they don't understand why they're doing to begin with, you're likely leading them to failure. Part of this whole process is a big process of challenging. We have to help our clients challenge the way they do things today and help them reinvent of how they do it better. But that process of change is very, very difficult, as you all understand. And it takes a lot more than just technology. But luckily, again, there's a formula for change that I'm not going to claim I invented. It's the Dynavo's formula for change. And when you think about it, it's very, very simple. But a lot of our clients don't understand what it takes to change. What it takes to change, first of all, we need to have multiple factors. We have to have a dissatisfaction of how things are right now. If the client is okay with how they're doing things right now and they're not dissatisfied with it at all, they're probably not going to want to change, right? So if they have the dissatisfaction with how things are going right now, they need to have a clear vision of what is possible, right? That art of the possible, right? If they have a clear vision of, hey, I'm really hurting through process right now, I really wish it was better, I have a clear vision of what that better looks like, and I have somebody to help me define the first concrete steps about how can I get there, right? So if they have the dissatisfaction, if they have the vision, if they have a clear, achievable first steps of getting there, if the product of those three is greater than their resistance to change, they can change. And I say that's a lot easier said than done. And it's not just technology. Digital transformation, for it to succeed, first we have to help our clients understand and establish a clear business case of why they're changing and transforming. We help them define kind of deliverables along this journey that they're going to undertake of what is it going to take for them to achieve that business case. We have to define what does success look like. What are those key performance indicators for the client so they can understand they're changing in a positive fashion. Then we need to look at technologies that are going to help us along the way, the technology stack, right? Identify the stakeholders and champions. Who is going to help them get there, and who do they need internally to transform and to achieve this change? Then we need to look at connecting their data and make sure that we're tracking those KPIs and proving to them, are you being successful? Are you achieving what you set out to achieve? And after you kind of go through the whole process, can you start developing those solutions like digital twins and all that will help you move forward? And then, of course, you go back to the drawing board. You evaluate what you've done, you redefine that, and you go forward with the process. It's a very iterative process of change. And unfortunately, a lot of clients come say, hey, I have this solution. I want you to deploy this. If you didn't go through these steps, and if you didn't vet to make sure that you've got all these things in place, deploying or developing solutions is a quick path to failure. And failure is running rampant. Again, staggeringly, 70% of all of digital transformation efforts, they fail. And it's so simple why they fail. They fail primarily for one of three reasons. They either have lack of stakeholder support. Somebody in the organization had an idea and they really didn't understand how this is going to impact everybody else, and they didn't have the impact and support of everybody else. They tried to turn their organization upside down, try to do too much and too fast. That's a great way to fail. And like I mentioned earlier, they're focused on technology first. Somebody's, dangles a brand new solution in front of them and say, hey, look at this cool digital twin technology. How about we do this? Not going to work. If it doesn't align with your true business needs, it's a great way to become a part of a statistic. So again, the big part is change is not about technology. The change is about the technology, yes, but first you need to understand the people that it affects and the workflows that they take, the processes it's going to take to develop this change, this change, and then finally focus on that technology that's going to help them get there. Without those three things, you're running towards a failure. And the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because it's very easy to fail in this realm, and it's very easy to give a bitter taste in our client's mouth for this process of change, which is why they don't want to change to begin with, because of such big fear of failure. I did a class at this university about this. If you want to read more about this digital transformation journey, there's an article that was published as well about it. Feel free to get a lot more information and narrative about this process that I'm advocating every single one of our clients needs to go through before we can understand how to help them best. It's very, very critical. And understanding kind of the level of complexity and value that they can achieve out of this, kind of this digital maturity level. Is our client kind of in this descriptive process where we're trying to just understand what happened, right? And what happened? Or are they trying to describe why something happened? Or are they starting to get predictive and understand and predict what will happen with these solutions? Or being prescriptive and really trying to control how something happens before it even happens? Or kind of this cognitive way of I like to call it this BAU, business as usual, to where things just happen the right way. We don't even do anything about it. They just happen the right way, right? In order to get to that cognitive level, you need to have very, very complex solutions, and it's going to bring you the most amount of value. But again, you can't go from this kind of informative stage, skip this optimization and transformation and go into the cognitive stage right away. You need to understand what you're changing from and to. And I know this is a lot of our clients see all of this and they don't see the value in it. Say, hey, you just want to sell me consulting hours and I just want to hire you to do a solution. I try to walk away, because trying to develop a solution without understanding how it affects all of this is a great way to help a client fail. And I don't want any part of it. I want to guide them through this process of delivering what can be delivered. And it affects the design process, the construction process, consulting along the way. Everything I talked about today can be looped into this digital transformation process. And again, it doesn't just happen because we want it to happen. We need to guide our clients to be able to do this. And again, digital twins, I throw in a section on this in here because a lot of clients are asking about it. So I want to kind of demystify what this is and why we're doing it to begin with. Again, 95, this is a staggering statistic that just came in last year. More than 95% of all the information that we develop throughout design and construction process goes completely unused. Again, all those BIM models and drawings and O&M manuals and everything you've done and all the information that you gathered, the owner never uses. They paid for it, but they don't use it at all. And that's the problem. We're trying to, through digital twins and this process, we're trying to enable our clients to use more of this information. And clients are starting to understand that they can't do that. So that's why this is a very, very current subject, if you will, that's only going to keep growing, right? Digital twins. Again, a lot of people have a conception of a digital twin of being a BIM model. Well, it doesn't need to be. Again, I'm not going to get too philosophical here, but digital twin is just a digital representation of a physical system. And that physical system, it can be a building, an asset, but it can be a process. We can create a twin of a process if we want to optimize that process. But for the most part of what we're talking about, with architects, engineers in our world, to our clients, again, I already showed you this slide, but we're talking about that twin that connects all different types of sources to a BIM model, and we can kind of assimilate everything together into one entity, if you will. A lot of our clients think of it as, they have their assets, they have a lot of different sensors. They want to understand how their assets are performing, real time, control parameters on their assets, be able to see their assets, having some sort of notion of this operations center that can operate their facilities remotely and be able to visualize every aspect of their system. Basically have this full total control in this operations center about their entire portfolio of buildings and assets. And it depends, again, what the clients are trying to achieve. You know, are they trying to track their resource utilization, uptime, life cycle, supply chain, life extension? You know, this client really wanted to do this, and that was their digital twin. And we really tried to create a solution for them. It's a very ad hoc, bespoke solution based on what they want. And I can't stress that enough. There is no, you know, we're not creating one platform and say, hey, this is the digital twin solution for you. And I'm going to show you what some other client did because you should do the same. Sometimes you can say that if they really truly are after the same thing, but you've got to go through that process of analyzing what makes sense to help their business, right? And again, it's not helping that there's a lot of platforms right now that are arising as digital twin platforms. And a lot of clients think, oh, well, if I just, you know, buy one of these platforms, I'm going to solve all these problems. I'm going to be so much more operationally efficient because now I have a digital twin. Unless you have a reason why you're implementing it, that's not the case. But the platforms, I did want to bring up, you know, some of the platforms that are out there right now today. Autodesk has their own platform, Autodesk Tandem. And you'll notice big names, you know, Siemens, Schneider Electric, their purchasing platform, Siemens purchased Economus, which was a freestanding digital twin platform. Schneider Electric purchased Aviva, which was a digital twin platform. Bentley, again, Bentley is Autodesk counterpart. They have their own platform, iTwin. Esri has a big partnership with Autodesk, and they have several platforms. ArcGIS Indoors, which I'm deploying for a client right now. GeoBIM, which kind of ties that BIM and GIS into one aspect together. Willow Twin, Unreal Engine, NVIDIA Omniverse. Again, there's a lot of big players that are starting to go down that path. Are they ready? Are they mainstream? It all depends on what your client is looking for. That's my big thing about it. I just did a class a few weeks ago, about a month ago, actually, at Autodesk University. Again, I held a panel. I love holding panels because I want to hear what the industry is saying and what they want. But I held a panel in person called "Have you started your digital twin journey? How and why?" And again, everybody's starting to get there. We had some owners, we had some architects, engineers, some technology providers. Repeated the class twice, had a great discussion about all of this. I published kind of a big article about this as well as part of a handout. It hasn't been published yet as an article, but it's a handout right now. The URL is there if you want to find out some more information about digital twins. And I talk about a lot of different constraints and options and opportunities that we discussed in person. I think digital twins here are here to stay. It's all about guiding our clients to do it, not just doing it because it's out there, but doing it to align that to help our clients. Which kind of, again, I'm going to show you a quick video of, this is several years back of what I created. A lot of people think about digital twins, they think of this. You know, we did track all the information to the hospital. This is actually the same hospital you saw earlier. We did track information. We did track a lot of asset information, asset data. We're using augmented reality to interact with the space around us, be able to see, you know, above ceilings, below walls, behind walls, below floors, click on individual assets, access asset information. Again, this is not fully operationalized yet, but again, it gives you a notion, an idea of what you can do, the ability to see additional information. But again, this doesn't happen just by itself. This happens through that process of capturing that information, talking to the client, understanding what they need it for. And again, this client hasn't fully operationalized this, like I say that as a disclaimer, but again, we gave them the art of the possible. We gave them an understanding of what they can do as part of it. And that's kind of what I want to conclude today with is it's up to each and every one of you. You've seen a lot of technologies. I threw a lot at you. This is probably 5 different presentations in one, but it's up to you to understand how does this apply to your client, and you are the one that bring this up. We are the leaders. The architects typically are the ones that are giving this to our clients, and we're truly there to help educate them and lead their way to really truly enable their beyond. Without us stepping up to the plate and really talking about what they can do, it really truly is never going to happen. And that's why I challenge each and every one of you. Hopefully you can take aspects of what you've heard today, try to apply that to your clients, try to push it forward into, hey, have you heard about this? This can help you in XYZ ways. And feel free to reach out to me again if you need any more information, if you want to chat and connect. more than happy to do that. But that concludes our 76 slide presentation today that I hopefully you stayed awake for, and I hopefully you got something out of it. So thank you so much for your time. And again, I can take a couple more questions. I know we're 2 minutes until our time. But thank you so much one more time for your time today. Hopefully you learned something.
Thank you, Maren. I don't know, now that you've stopped sharing your screen, can you see the Q&A if any come in?
I am, for some reason, the only Q&A I was seeing was the Q&A from the host and the panelists. I'm not able to see the Q&A from everybody else.
Okay. Let's see. There's a where is Graphisoft ArchiCAD in all this?
It's just another platform from BIM, and again, it's another option. Again, there's no, Autodesk and Bentley probably have the big market share. Autodesk has a big market share, but again, depending on what you do, there's a lot of platforms out there.
Is this scalable for a small architectural office?
It is. Again, the office that I built, that I had before, we grew from an 8-person firm on AutoCAD, and we grew that into the largest architecture firm in Missouri. After we merged with a contractor, we had about 250 architects in our office. So it can actually help you grow your businesses. That's one thing that you're after. Again, we became as much of a technology firm as we did an architecture firm, even though the core of what we did was architecture, but we implemented all these technologies throughout that help us grow and help our clients the best way possible.
Okay, let's see. Do you have some sources that you can suggest where someone can educate themselves on all of this more?
I've, again, not to toot my own horn, but I've done a lot of presentations at Autodesk University, and I've tried to break down each and every aspect, one of these things together. Autodesk University has a lot of great courses, not just by me, but a lot of other folks that talk about the current trends, technologies, and everything else, and they are free to access. Again, if you have an Autodesk account, that's a great way to do that. I'm happy to share information like this as well and help educate, because again, the reason why I do this is I want to help our industry, because I know what we can do together. I'm just trying to propel us forward to enable us to do the best we possibly can, leveraging technology, which is my passion, if you haven't gathered that already.